Let's talk about pearls. You know, those orbs that cost an exorbitant amount of money. What the heck even are they, really? Well, they're essentially collections of calcium carbonate that form inside shelled mollusks. Think oysters most commonly, but also clams, mussels, and scallops. If calcium carbonate rings a bell in your head, it might be because it's also the main constituent of chalk. Mollusk shells themselves are also made of calcium carbonate, but more on this later. To understand how pearls form, it's helpful to understand some basic oyster anatomy. Oysters are a type of bivalve mollusk, which is a fancy way of saying their shells have two parts, valves. These valves are held together by a ligament which keeps the valves open so that the oyster can eat. The valves consist of three layers: the proteinaceous periosteum layer, the prismatic layer, and the nacre layer. The nacre layer looks iridescent, like pearls, so it's also called the pearl layer, or mother of pearl. The layer itself is sometimes used to make buttons and jewelry and whatnot. Lining the inside of the valves is a tissue layer called the mantle, and its job is to secrete calcium carbonate to grow the shell as the oyster grows. A pearl forms when some sort of irritant gets between the mantle and the shell. As a defense mechanism against this foreign object, the oyster's mantle covers the irritant up with the same calcium carbonate material in its nacre layer. Concentric layers of this nacre eventually form a pearl. Basically, pearls are just the byproduct of oyster splinters. A layer of nacre is incredibly thin. We're talking 1 micron thin. 1 micron is 1,000th of a millimeter, and oysters can make 3 to 4 layers of nacre a day, although this varies depending on the species, so it takes a very, very, very long time to form a pearl. To take out the pearl, harvesters essentially perform surgery, carefully making a small cut in the mantle to extract the pearl. What kind of irritant is usually at the heart of a pearl? Well, it's actually usually, drumroll please, a parasite. Yup, that's right, we as a society have agreed to pay top dollar for parasites encrusted in chalk. At least, that's usually what's at the heart of a natural pearl. We also artificially cultivate pearls too. In this process, we open the oyster shell, make a cut in the mantle, and introduce irritants, or a pearl nucleus, which serve as the seeds from which pearls then grow. And that is how pearls form.